Karen stormed out of her Mercedes, nostrils flaring with indignation. How dare those homeless people loiter in her neighborhood park? Didn't they know this was her private domain? She marched up to the group, her pearl-clutching handbag swinging menacingly. "You, all of you, get out of here this instant," she screeched, her shrill voice cutting through the peaceful afternoon. "This is my park, and I won't have you filthy vagrants ruining the ambience." The startled group of men, women, and children stared at her in bewilderment. One young mother, clutching a sleeping infant, tried to explain that they were simply enjoying the sunshine and fresh air, but Karen cut her off with a dismissive wave of her hand. "I don't care what you're doing. This is private property, and I'm calling the cops if you don't leave right now," she shouted, pulling out her phone and jabbing at the screen. A hush fell over the park as the homeless people quickly gathered their meager belongings and shuffled away, heads bowed. Karen watched with satisfaction, her lips curling into a smug smile. How dare they intrude on her sanctuary? Just then, a well-dressed woman approached Karen, a polite but firm expression on her face. "Excuse me, ma'am, but I couldn't help overhearing your outburst. I'm afraid you're mistaken. This is a public park, and these people have every right to be here," she said, her tone even but with an undercurrent of disapproval. Karen's eyes narrowed, and she puffed out her chest, ready to unleash another tirade. "I most certainly am not mistaken. This is my park, and I won't tolerate trespassers," she spat. The woman raised a hand, silencing Karen's tirade. "Actually, this park is owned and maintained by a local non-profit organization. I'm the director, and we were just conducting our monthly inspection when you arrived," she explained, her voice laced with a hint of irritation. Karen's face flushed with embarrassment as the realization dawned on her. She had just publicly humiliated and driven out a group of vulnerable people, only to be confronted by the very organization responsible for the park. Her sense of entitlement and privilege had blinded her to the reality of the situation, and now she was caught in a very public and humiliating predicament. I didn't realize," she stammered, her confidence visibly deflating. The director fixed her with a stern gaze. "Well, now you do. I suggest you apologize to those people and refrain from further harassment. This is a public space, and everyone has a right to enjoy it." Karen opened her mouth, but no words came out. She stood there, her face burning with shame, as the director turned and walked away, leaving her alone with the weight of her actions. The ride home was a silent, uncomfortable affair for Karen. She sat in her Mercedes, gripping the steering wheel, her knuckles turning white as the events of the afternoon replayed in her mind. How could she have been so blind? How could she have acted with such blatant disregard for the less fortunate, all in the name of her own sense of entitlement? The director's words echoed in her head, a constant reminder of her shameful behavior. As she pulled into her driveway, Karen noticed a familiar face waiting on her doorstep. It was her neighbor, Mrs. Peterson, a kind and well-respected woman in the community. "Karen, dear, I heard about what happened at the park. I must say, I'm quite disappointed in you," Mrs. Peterson said, her tone laced with a mixture of concern and disapproval. Karen's face flushed with embarrassment. "Mrs. Peterson, I don't know what to say. I was completely out of line," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. The older woman sighed and shook her head. "I know you've always considered yourself above the rest of us, but to treat those poor people with such disrespect, it's simply unacceptable." Karen felt a pang of guilt in her chest. Mrs. Peterson had always been kind to her, even when she had been dismissive of the older woman's concerns. Now she was facing the consequences of her actions, and it was a bitter pill to swallow. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Peterson. I don't know what came over me. I wasn't thinking," Karen stammered, her eyes downcast. Mrs. Peterson reached out and placed a gentle hand on Karen's arm. "My dear, I know you're better than this. We all have our moments of weakness, but the true test is how we respond and grow from them." Karen looked up, her eyes brimming with tears. I don't know how to make this right. I've always been so entitled. I never realized how much it was hurting those around me, she confessed, the weight of her words sinking in. Well, the first step is admitting it, Mrs. Peterson said, a small smile tugging at the corners of her lips. Now you have a choice to make. You can continue down this path of selfishness and isolation, or you can use this as an opportunity to become a better person. Karen felt her heart swell with a mixture of emotions, shame, regret, and a glimmer of hope. Mrs. Peterson's words had struck a chord deep within her, and she knew that she couldn't simply go back to her old ways. Something had to change, and it had to start with her. I want to be better. I don't know how, but I'm willing to try, Karen said, her voice steadier than it had been in a long time. Mrs. Peterson nodded approvingly. That's a good start, my dear. Now, let's see what we can do to make amends, shall we? The next day, Karen found herself standing in front of the community center, her fingers trembling as she reached for the door. She had spent a sleepless night wrestling with her conscience, haunted by the memory of the homeless people's faces as she had so callously ordered them out of the park. Taking a deep breath, she pushed the door open and stepped inside, her eyes scanning the bustling interior. This was unfamiliar territory for her. She had always seen the community center as a place for those people, not for someone like her. A kind-faced woman approached her, a warm smile on her lips. Good morning, dear. Can I help you with something? Karen swallowed hard, her voice faltering as she spoke. Yes. I'd like to speak to someone about volunteering, if possible. The woman's eyebrows rose in surprise, but her smile only widened. Well, that's wonderful. We can always use more volunteers. Let me introduce you to our director, Sarah. She'll be able to get you started. Karen followed the woman, her heart pounding in her chest. As they approached a warm-looking office, the director herself emerged, greeting them with a friendly nod. Hi there. I'm Sarah. How can I help you today? The director asked, her gaze meeting Karen's with a hint of curiosity. Karen took a deep breath, steeling herself for the conversation ahead. I'd like to volunteer. I'm not sure where to start, but I want to help, in any way I can, she said, her words tumbling out in a rush. Sarah's eyes widened, and a small smile played on her lips. Well, that's wonderful to hear. We can always use more hands, especially with our outreach programs. Let me show you around and see where you might be the best fit. As Sarah led Karen through the bustling center, introducing her to various staff and volunteers, Karen felt a strange sense of discomfort and humility. This was a world she had always ignored, dismissing it as beneath her. Now she was confronted with the reality of the lives she had so carelessly disrupted the day before. When they arrived at the food pantry, the sight of so many people in need, families, the elderly, the disabled, struck a chord deep within Karen. She watched as volunteers carefully sorted and packaged food items, distributing them to those who had no other means of sustenance. Would you like to help out here? Sarah asked, gesturing to the shelves of canned goods and boxes of fresh produce. Karen swallowed the lump in her throat and nodded, rolling up her sleeves. Yes, I'd be honored to. As she began sorting and packing the food, Karen felt a sense of purpose and humility she had never experienced before. This was the real world, the one she had so casually ignored in pursuit of her own comfort and privilege. And now, she was part of it, a small cog in the machine that kept these vulnerable people alive. Over the next few weeks, Karen found herself immersed in the world of the community center, a world she had once viewed with disdain. As she worked alongside the dedicated volunteers, sorting donations, preparing meals, and assisting with outreach programs, she began to see the individuals behind the statistics, the stories of hardship, struggle, and resilience that had led them to this place. One day, as she was stocking the shelves of the food pantry, a young mother approached her, cradling a sleeping infant in her arms. Karen recognized her immediately. She was the woman she had so harshly dismissed in the park. "Excuse me, I just wanted to say, thank you for being here," the woman said, her voice soft and hesitant. Karen felt a pang of guilt as the memory of her own callous behavior resurfaced. I'm the one who should be apologizing," she replied, her eyes downcast. "I had no right to treat you and your family that way. I was wrong, and I'm so sorry." The woman's expression softened, and she reached out to gently touch Karen's arm. "It's all right. I could see the shame and regret in your eyes that day. I'm just glad you found your way here to help us." Karen felt a lump in her throat as she met the woman's gaze, her own eyes brimming with tears. "I don't know how to make it up to you, or to the others I've hurt. But I promise I'm going to do everything I can to make a difference, to help people like you who are struggling." The woman smiled, her own eyes shining with gratitude. "That's all anyone can ask for. We're all just trying to get by, you know. And with people like you lending a hand, it makes it a little bit easier." Karen nodded, her heart swelling with a newfound sense of purpose. She had come to this place seeking redemption, but in the process, she had discovered a deeper truth, that helping others was not just a means of atonement, but a path to her own healing and growth. As the woman turned to leave, Karen called out, "Wait. I'd like to learn more about your story, if you're willing to share. I want to understand, to truly see the people I've wronged." The woman paused, a thoughtful expression on her face. "Of course, I'd be happy to. Maybe we can get a coffee later, if you have the time." Karen felt a surge of hope and nervousness, but she knew this was an opportunity she couldn't pass up. "I'd like that very much," she replied, a small smile tugging at the corners of her lips. As the woman walked away, Karen felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. She had taken the first steps on a long journey of redemption, and she was determined to see it through, no matter how difficult the path might be. Over the next few weeks, Karen found herself spending more and more time at the community center, immersing herself in the lives of those she had once dismissed. She listened intently as the young mother, whose name she later learned was Sarah, shared her story. A tale of tragedy, resilience, and an unwavering determination to provide a better life for her family. Sarah had lost her husband in a tragic accident, leaving her to navigate the overwhelming challenges of single parenthood and financial instability. With no family support and limited resources, she had turned to the community center for help, finding solace and aid in the kindness of strangers. As Karen listened, her heart ached with empathy and a newfound understanding of the struggles faced by those less fortunate. She had always assumed that homelessness and poverty were the result of laziness or poor choices, but now she realized the devastating impact that life's unexpected curveballs could have on even the most hardworking individuals. "I never imagined my life would turn out this way," Sarah confided, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "But I'm grateful for the support I found here. Without this place, I don't know where we'd be." Karen reached across the table, placing her hand atop Sarah's. "I'm so sorry for the way I treated you and your family that day in the park. I was completely blind to the realities of your situation, and I've never felt more ashamed of my own actions." Sarah offered her a gentle smile. "I know, and I forgive you. We all make mistakes, but it's what we do after that really matters." Karen nodded, her own eyes filling with tears. "Well, I'm determined to make amends. I want to help in any way I can. Please, tell me what I can do." Over the next several weeks, Karen immersed herself in the daily operations of the community center, volunteering her time and resources to support the various programs and initiatives. She participated in food drives, organized clothing donations, and even helped secure temporary housing for families in need. As she witnessed firsthand the transformative impact these efforts had on the lives of the less fortunate, Karen felt a profound shift within herself. The once entitled and dismissive woman was slowly being replaced by someone more empathetic, humble, and committed to making a tangible difference. One day, As Karen was loading boxes of non-perishable items into a van, she noticed a familiar face. It was Mrs. Peterson, her neighbor. The older woman approached her with a warm smile, placing a gentle hand on her arm. "I'm so proud of you, my dear," she said, her voice laced with genuine admiration. "You've really turned things around, and it shows." Karen felt a flush of pride and gratitude, her eyes meeting Mrs. Peterson's with a newfound respect. "Thank you, Mrs. Peterson. I couldn't have done it without your guidance and support. You were right. I needed to change, and this has been the most rewarding journey of my life." Mrs. Peterson nodded, a twinkle in her eye. "I always knew you had it in you, Karen. Now let's get these supplies delivered, shall we? There are plenty of people counting on us." As they worked side by side, Karen couldn't help but feel a sense of purpose and belonging that she had never experienced before. This was her new community, her new home, a place where she could make a real difference, one small act of kindness at a time. As the months passed, Karen's transformation continued to deepen. She had become a fixture at the community center, known not just for her tireless efforts, but for the genuine warmth and compassion she brought to every interaction. One day, as she was sorting through a stack of donation forms, the director, Sarah, approached her with a warm smile. "Karen, do you have a moment? I'd like to talk to you about something," Sarah said, gesturing towards her office. Feeling a slight flutter of nerves, Karen followed the director, wondering what this could be about. Had she done something wrong? Was her involvement no longer wanted? Once they were seated, Sarah folded her hands on the desk and fixed Karen with a thoughtful gaze. "I've been observing your work here over the past several months, and I have to say, I'm truly impressed by the change I've seen in you." Karen felt a wave of relief wash over her, and she let out a breath she hadn't realized she was holding. "Oh, Sarah, I'm so glad to hear that. This place, these people, they've changed me in ways I never could have imagined." Sarah nodded, a warm smile spreading across her face. "That's exactly what I wanted to talk to you about. I've been thinking, and I believe you have a unique perspective and set of skills that could be invaluable to our organization." Karen's brow furrowed in confusion. "What do you mean?" "Well, you've been through a remarkable transformation, Karen. You've gone from being someone who dismissed and even antagonized the less fortunate, to someone who has embraced this community and dedicated herself to making a real difference," Sarah explained. "I think you could be an incredible advocate and ambassador for the work we do here." Karen felt a surge of emotion, her heart swelling with a mixture of pride and humility. I don't know what to say. I'm honored that you would even consider me for something like that." Sarah reached across the desk and squeezed Karen's hand. "I believe you have a powerful story to share, Karen. One that could inspire others and help break down the stigma and misconceptions surrounding homelessness and poverty. Would you be interested in exploring this opportunity further?" Karen felt a lump in her throat as she considered Sarah's proposal. She thought back to the day in the park, when her sense of entitlement had led her to humiliate and dismiss those in need. Now she had the chance to use that experience to make a real difference, to be a voice for the voiceless. "Yes, Sarah, I would be honored. I want to do everything I can to help the people I once turned my back on," Karen said, her voice thick with emotion. Sarah beamed, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Wonderful. I think this is the start of something truly amazing. Let's get started, shall we?" As Karen followed Sarah out of the office, she felt a renewed sense of purpose and determination. This was her chance to make amends, to use her own journey of growth and redemption to inspire and empower others. She knew the road ahead would not be easy, but she was more than ready to embrace the challenge. In the weeks that followed, Karen threw herself wholeheartedly into her new role as an advocate and ambassador for the community center. She worked tirelessly, using her connections and influence to raise awareness and secure much-needed funding and resources. One of her first initiatives was to organize a series of fundraising events, targeting her former social circles, the wealthy and privileged who had once been her primary concern. She hosted lavish galas, cocktail receptions, and charity auctions, using her persuasive charm and newfound passion to inspire her guests to open their hearts and wallets. To Karen's surprise, many of her former acquaintances were receptive to her message, intrigued by her remarkable transformation. They listened intently as she shared the stories of the families she had come to know, the challenges they faced, and the profound impact the community center was having on their lives. "I used to be like you," Karen would tell them, her voice filled with sincerity. "Blinded by my own privilege and entitlement, unable to see the real struggles of those less fortunate. But now, I've seen the face of true hardship, and I'm determined to do everything in my power to make a difference." Her words resonated with her audience, and the donations began pouring in. Soon, the community center was able to expand its programs, offering more comprehensive services and support to the growing number of individuals and families seeking refuge. As Karen's involvement in the center deepened, she found herself forging meaningful connections with the very people she had once so callously dismissed. She listened to their stories, learned about their dreams and aspirations, and worked tirelessly to connect them with the resources they needed to rebuild their lives. One day, during a visit to the center's job training program, Karen encountered a familiar face. It was the young mother, Sarah, whom she had encountered in the park. This time, however, Sarah's expression was one of joy and gratitude, rather than the fear and uncertainty Karen had witnessed before. "Karen, I can't believe it's you," Sarah exclaimed, rushing forward to embrace her. "The center told me about your involvement, but I hardly recognized you. You look so different." Karen returned the hug, a warm smile spreading across her face. "Sarah, it's so good to see you. I'm so proud of you for taking this step. The job training program is truly making a difference in people's lives." Sarah nodded enthusiastically, her eyes shining with hope. "It really is. Thanks to the support I've received here, I'm finally starting to see a path forward. I'm learning new skills, and I'm even considering going back to school." Karen felt a swell of emotion, her heart swelling with a sense of pride and fulfillment. "That's wonderful, Sarah. I'm so happy for you. And I want you to know I'm here for you every step of the way. Anything you need, you just let me know." As Sarah reached out to squeeze Karen's hand, a deeper understanding passed between them. A connection forged through shared experiences, empathy, and a renewed sense of community. In that moment, Karen knew that her journey of redemption was far from over, but she had never felt more resolved to see it through. This was her calling, her purpose, to be a voice for the voiceless, and to use her own story as a testament to the power of change and the transformative impact of compassion. As the years passed, Karen's dedication to the community center and its mission only grew stronger. She had become a driving force behind the organization, using her influence and resources to expand its reach and impact across the city. Through her tireless efforts, the center was able to open new outreach programs, secure permanent housing for dozens of families, and provide comprehensive support services to those in need. Karen's personal transformation had become a shining example of the power of empathy and the transformative potential of second chances. One evening, as Karen was attending a gala hosted by the center, she found herself surrounded by a group of familiar faces, the very people she had once dismissed and driven out of the park. This time, however, their expressions were radiant with joy and gratitude, rather than fear and resignation. Sarah, now a confident and thriving young woman, approached Karen with a warm embrace. "Karen, I can't tell you how much your support has meant to me and my family. Because of you, we have a roof over our heads, food on the table, and a sense of hope for the future." Karen felt tears of joy welling in her eyes as she returned the hug, her heart swelling with a profound sense of purpose. "Sarah, it's been an honor to be a part of your journey. You're the one who's truly inspiring. Your resilience and determination are what keep me going every day." As they parted, Karen scanned the room, taking in the sight of the transformed lives all around her. There were the elderly couples who had found security in companionship, the disabled veterans who had been given a second chance, and the young families who were now on a path to self-sufficiency. In that moment, Karen knew that her journey had come full circle. She had once been consumed by her own sense of entitlement and privilege, blind to the struggles of those around her. But now, she had become a champion for the very people she had once sought to exclude, a beacon of hope and a catalyst for change. As the event drew to a close and the guests began to depart, Karen found herself in a quiet moment with the director, Sarah, who placed a gentle hand on her arm. "Karen, I want you to know that what you've achieved here is truly remarkable. You've not only transformed your own life, but you've touched the lives of countless others in ways you can't even imagine," Sarah said, her voice thick with emotion. Karen felt a surge of gratitude and humility, her own eyes glistening with tears. "Sarah, the real credit goes to you and this incredible team. You've given me a purpose, a sense of belonging that I never could have found on my own. I'll be forever grateful for this journey." The two women embraced, their shared experience and commitment to a common cause, forging a bond that transcended their initial encounter. As Karen stepped out into the cool night air, she knew that her work was far from over, but her heart was filled with a renewed sense of determination and hope. The once entitled Karen had been reborn, transformed into a champion for the forgotten and the marginalized. And as she looked ahead to the future, she knew that her story would continue to inspire and empower others, one life at a time.